This is the first edition of Bruce Marks One-on-One. Bruce, welcome.
Good to be here.
4 years now you've been doing these events, Save the Dream and American Dream events. Will it ever end?
Well, we certainly hope so. I mean, our goal is to put NACA out of business on the Home Save program, because the fact of the matter is every homeowner who comes to these events, really hundreds of thousands, have already tried and failed to work with their lender to achieve an affordable solution. So if NACA can get a same-day solution for those homeowners, where homeowners are saving $500, sometimes $1,000 a month, reducing the interest rate to as low as 2%, if we can do it, then we got to get all the banks to do it so people don't have to come to a NACA Save the Dream event.
There are a lot of people who want your attention, a lot of homeowners, a lot of would-be homeowners across the country, but obviously they can't have access to you all the time. What message do you want to give to them right now in this first edition of your show?
Well, the fact of the matter is they've got to do what I do and what the NACA staff does, and that is to be relentless, to not take no for an answer. That if you're determined to keep your home, you got to try every avenue. So that is to be persistent with the lenders, to use the public officials out there whose job it is to represent the homeowners and their constituents, and all the other activities that we do, which will also include being involved in the advocacy that we're doing. Because we are so determined to achieve that affordable solution that even when someone says no, we're going to keep on fighting. And even if someone has lost their home, we're going to keep on fighting. And as a result of that, what we're able to do now is even work with people who have lost their homes, not through NACA, but through these lenders, and to try to get them some kind of compensation or maybe even their homes back.
How were you able to try and do that?
Because we never give up. We are relentless. And I think that is what has really separated NACA out from the pack.
Is there something, though, with the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the OCC, that allows us to go back and try to get homes back or try to get compensation for these homeowners? Can you go into that a little bit?
Absolutely. So what they're looking at is the homeowners who have lost their homes or not gotten a solution are going to have an opportunity to file a complaint and have independent arbitrators look at that and to get compensated or maybe even to get their homes back. So if the lenders have done something illegal or they haven't followed the right processes out there, now there's an opportunity. But who would have thought that was possible a year or two ago? So when you look, when we started on July 17th of 2008 at the Washington Capitol Hilton Hotel, and we had thousands of people there, well, we thought we'd only be in this for a year. And yet, as you're saying, this is our 4th year. But at every event, in Chicago where we are now, this is our 63rd event. We get more and more solutions, and frankly, what we're seeing now is many more principal reductions by tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars.
What can you say to someone who also says, Bruce, that sounds good. I watch you on television, in the news, on CNBC or wherever, but you know something? I've tried 3 times at these events, and it's still not happening for me, whether it's Wells Fargo or some other bank. What advice do you have for them?
Keep at it. That's why I am personally at the events. That's why when someone has that circumstances, I personally get involved, because it's personal. If someone's losing their home, we got to do everything we can to save their home, because it's not just saving someone's home, it's saving their families. And sometimes people come up to me and they say, you saved my life. It's that personal. That's why I'm at every event, and that's why I take every case personally to advocate. Because if someone comes to a NACA Save the Dream event, they've passed the most crucial test, that I'm serious about keeping my home. And now it's our obligation and everybody else's to make sure that they keep their home, because no one should lose their home who's determined to keep their home. So that's why we say there's 2 solutions out there, only 2 real solutions. One is if someone has stable income, it's to modify their mortgage to make it affordable, bring down the interest rate to as low as 2%, or reducing the outstanding principal to get to that affordable payment. If someone is unemployed or underemployed, is to do a forbearance agreement where they make a minimum payment, sometimes no payment for a period of time until they get stable income, where they can modify their mortgage if necessary. So what you don't hear at a NACA Save the Dream event is deed in lieu of foreclosures or short sales. Well, if someone wants it, we'll work with them. But those are just faster ways of losing your homes. And that's what we're not about.
What makes Bruce Marks the happiest, whether it's at an event or back in the office?
Well, I have the best job in the country. I mean, you can't beat the job that I have, because when people come up to me, sometimes big men, and they pick me up, literally pick me up with tears just streaming down their cheeks. They're saying, you know, I can now go home and I can kiss my children goodnight, knowing that they have a place to live, knowing that I am looking out for them and taking care of them. There's no better feeling. But the best compliment I get, the best compliment is not just that we saved someone's home and, you know, all the things that go along with it, is when people say to me, regardless of what happens to me, thank you for standing up. Thank you for fighting. Because that's what we're about. We're always about fighting for homeowners and working people in this country. And that's what we've done, and I've done for 24 years, and will continue to do. But we have a great staff. I mean, the staff at NACA is unbelievable. I mean, think about these events. They go Thursday through Monday, and then we start again early the next week. So that means no one gets the weekends off. I mean, the people work that hard and are that dedicated. So I'm really blessed with both the membership that volunteers and all the NACA staff that works harder than any other group of individuals anywhere in this country.
Now, I've often heard you say there's no 100% in life. So what is it that makes you sad or pisses you off about what's going on in this industry?
When we start a NACA Save the Dream event, and you look outside, and there are thousands of people waiting, and people are waiting in the cold overnight with their children. I mean, that gets me angry, because no one should have to do that. This is America. You know, we are not a poverty-stricken country, or shouldn't be. So that is just such a outrage to this country that is beyond words. So no one should have to do that. And then when you find that people, the lenders, are trying to find a reason to say no, it's just unacceptable. But even worse than that, it's the American government. It's the Obama administration. I supported President Obama. I was on the Washington Mall in that unbelievably cold day during his inauguration with my wife and daughter, and was so proud. And knowing inside what I know by dealing with all these officials and the government entities, I know he could be doing a lot more. I know he could have put a moratorium on foreclosures, and he didn't. I know, because I used to be a regulator. I used to work at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York as in the domestic applications, in the belly of the beast. I know what the regulators could do if they wanted to force these lenders to do the right thing. So a big disappointment is the government that we own as taxpayers, that we fund as taxpayers, is really selling us out as homeowners. Because look, 85% of the mortgages in this country are owned or controlled by the U.S. government, by the American taxpayers. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, 50%. FHA, 30%. 5% VA. So just imagine, look at the hypocrisy. A soldier coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq, putting their life on the line for this country, is much more likely to be foreclosed on if they have a VA mortgage than someone who got a predatory countrywide mortgage. And the government could do so much more, because if you have an FHA or VA mortgage, you can't reduce the interest rate to less than the market rate, which is now more than 4%, and you can never reduce your outstanding principal.
What about, just for playing devil's advocate here, the administration put out some stuff today, or this week rather, for FHA borrowers. I don't know if you've seen that, about refinancing, knocking down the cost of refinancing for FHA borrowers. Is that a step in the right direction, or is he doing more than other administrations, or is still, do you think, terrible?
Well, but remember, you still can't get the interest rate less than the market rate when you're able to refinance. And there's so many obstacles to be able to do that. So that's a real problem out there. But the other part is he doing more than what the previous administrations are doing? Yes. But could he be doing much more? Because he ran on the promise of helping the homeowners. He ran on the promise of doing a foreclosure moratorium. He ran on the promise of doing the right thing for the homeowners. So as a regulator, so look at the comparison. You know, under the Bush administration, supported by President Obama, they said that they forced the banks to take money, even the banks that didn't want it, under TARP, because of the safety and soundness issue.
TARP, tell us about that. Troubled
TARP,
Asset Relief Program.
Right, where they poured billions of taxpayers' money to these banks to shore them up so they wouldn't go belly up. But they forced them. Some of the banks didn't want it, but they said you have to take it. But they could use that same safety and soundness criteria to force the banks to modify mortgages. But they don't do that. So how can they say our hands are tied when it's one thing when you're giving banks all this money, you're giving them 0% interest rate loans, but when it comes to the homeowners, oh, I'm sorry, my hands are tied. I mean, that, I think, gets my goal almost more than anything, because I'm a big government supporter. I believe in government. I believe in regulations. But when I see the government being worse than these lenders that we're fighting, that just reinforces people's perception that government can't be on the right side of the issue. And it feeds the perception and the reality sometimes that government is not there for the American people, when it has the ability and responsibility to do the right thing, and they're not.
What's going on with NACA these days? A lot of stuff happening internally and externally. What do you want to share with the public about that?
Well, we're growing. I mean, we have established ourselves as the most effective organization for both people who have an unaffordable mortgage to make that affordable, our Home Save program, but our purchase program, where people can purchase a home with no down payment. Bank pays all the closing costs and fees, always a fixed rate, always below market. So we've really focused on the last 4 years on the Home Save program. 2012, we're focusing on the purchase program, because there's an opportunity to get the REO properties, the properties owned by the banks, into owner-occupants' hands. So just as an example of one of the programs that we are putting out now, if a home buyer purchases a Bank of America owned property or serviced, they get first right to view those properties. And if they offer the appraised value, not only does Bank of America have to accept that offer, but they'll provide 10 points to buy down the interest rate. And if you do the calculation today, they would be able to get that property at the appraised value with money for the rehab at an interest rate at around 1%, 30-year fixed. So think of that as one of the programs that we are putting out now, and there'll be a lot more of that, because we have $13 billion of the best mortgage in America. I mean, let me say it again, because it sounds too good to be true, right? No down payment, bank pays all the closing costs and fees, always 30-year fixed, always at a below market. So today's rate is around 3.875 and less. So it's just an unbelievable deal, and we don't go by credit score. We say, let's look at people's individual circumstances to determine whether they're ready for home ownership. So the NACA purchase program we want to make as the national standard. And you know, before there were other types of mortgage products out there, now we're the only game in town. And we're determined to make this the standard, because what built the middle class after World War II? VA loans, no down payment loans. What's going to build up our communities after the last decade of unbelievable devastation with the mortgage crisis? No down payment, NACA mortgages.
A lot of people listening to this, and people who have NACA mortgages, or people who are looking at NACA as a possibility they want to join or be a part of. It does sound good, too good to be true. How can this nonprofit do this? Because it sounds like an oxymoron when you think about it. Nonprofit providing mortgages, nonprofit modifying mortgages, and the public, in many cases, not charged anything. It's free. Can you explain that?
Well, it is a nonprofit mission, but you're running it like a business. But the difference is we don't have to take the money and to give it to stockholders or to investors. We can reinvest in the company. So, yeah, on the home save, we get paid by the lenders. When someone makes an affordable payment for 3 months, get paid for results. On the purchase side, we're a mortgage broker. We get paid by the lenders when someone closes on a loan. But we get paid for results. Not one penny of that is coming from the borrower or the homeowner. And we get some grants, but really very little. So that's why no one can put the arm on us, because it's fees for services paid by the lenders. That's how it should get done, paid for results.
Bruce, a lot of people are going to look at this show and are hoping that in the future, in the very near future, they'll be able to take advantage of the show either through Twitter, email, or maybe even phone calls that you can answer their questions, and it's going to be interactive. Give us your thoughts about that as you embark on this new journey to communicate with the members and other members of the public.
Oh, it's the best part of my job. I mean, the worst part is being in an office in Boston, going over paperwork and doing administrative stuff. This is what I love to do. That's why I always come to the Save the Dream events, because you got to be there where everybody else is. And if we're going to grow the organization, these are not my ideas of how to grow the organization. These are ideas that come from the NACA staff and from the NACA members. So I'm always looking for better ways to do it. Never get satisfied with what we're doing. There's always a better way to do that. Well, how best to grow an organization and get the feedback from the people who are most impacted by what we do and by what's going on around this country. That's the NACA homeowners, that's the NACA members, that's the NACA staff. So I'm just very excited about doing that going forward.
Bruce Marks, thanks for joining us. We know you have to get on a plane. One of the hardest working CEOs who's always at every event and also at work. He demands a lot from his staff, but nothing more than he demands from himself.
Well, I want to thank you because you do an unbelievable job. We have the best staff in this country.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you.